This video will be a commentary, a statistical exploration, and some film study of the Detroit Lions offense, specifically trying to answer the question, or at least address the question, can the Lions win with Jared Goff? Well, I think they proved in 2022 that yes, they can win games. The larger question that Lions fans want answered, and the very cynical NFL fans from other teams, can they win the Super Bowl? Can they get to an NFC title game? Can they win their division for the first time? Can they win a playoff game for the first time since, I think, 1991? I believe the answer to those questions is yes. I believe the Lions have improved defensively significantly, and I think their offense is only getting better with the acquisitions of like Jahmyr Gibbs. In my opinion, the Lions offense, there's no reason why they can't approach their torrid pace from the second half of 2022. And if you're unfamiliar, I'm going to give you a little bit of data here before we start some film. And this video is really only going to show film from a 3-week period that I think just gives you an indication of how this Lions team can win games. It's going to be an exploration of weeks 13, 14, and 15 from 2022. I'm talking about their blowout win at home over the Jags, another runaway win over the Vikings in Week 14, where I believe the Lions were favored going into that game, even though the Vikings were the division leader at the time. And then their 2017 win on the road in New York against the Jets in Week 15. I think those three games really give us an idea of what this team can do. But let's talk about the stats for a moment. From Week 10 onward in 2022. This team averaged 29.4 points, almost 29.5 points per game. The last 9 games of the season. They also faced, during that time, playoff teams such as the Giants, the Bills, the Jags, the Vikings, and then played 2 other teams that were capable of making the playoffs but just did not, in the Jets and the Packers. I'm going to start off the film by looking at some Week 13 film. Their 40-14 destruction of the Jags at home. Of course, the Jags ended up making the AFC playoffs, winning a playoff game. Playing quite well against Kansas City in the divisional round. Final score is 40-14. I think this pushed the Lions to 5-7 at the time after their 1-6 start. They scored on 8 consecutive possessions here. The Lions didn't punt. They just took a knee twice on the final possession. So 9 possessions overall, 4 touchdowns, 4 field goals, and then 1 knee at the end of the game when the game was over, so the backup quarterback was able to take a knee and get them out of there. Goff, I think, was like 30 of 41 for like 340, 345 yards, couple of touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, unbelievable game, 11 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lions embarrassed a Jaguars team that made the AFC play. People said meant nothing. I think says a lot about what the NFL thought about that Lions team as it relates to the end of the regular season, and then them being put out there to go to Kansas City on the road. Huge test, obviously, but to open the NFL season on Thursday Night Football, I think is another indication of what the NFL thinks of what's happening there in Detroit. The turnaround started before Week 13, but I feel like in terms of Jared Goff, this is around the time where it became fact. If he can avoid turnovers, they're going to win football games. And I think that was a real thing in 2022. In case you don't know, he only had 1 turnover after Week 9. I believe it was after Week 9, I believe, was the 15-9 win over the Packers at home. I may have my weeks wrong there. But in any case, after that game, after that win over the Packers, he only had 1 turnover. I think it was a fumble lost in Week 17 or the Week 18 win over the Packers. Lions offense is capable of doing. They're better. They should be better, if you ask me. They have more talent. I know Jameson Williams is going to miss the first 6 weeks. He contributed next to nothing last year anyway. In my opinion, this offense is ready to roll. Ben Johnson returns as offensive coordinator. If he can keep Jared Goff running smoothly, turnover-free, I think the sky's the limit. Week 14, Philly, 10 possessions, 6 scores, 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals, 2 punts, 1 fourth down that they went for it, didn't get it, and a missed field goal. Just in control, smooth, running the ball well. Goff not making mistakes. Over the course of these 2 games, Week 13 against the Jags, Week 14 against the Vikings, 2 teams that made the playoffs, 74 points, 9 downs, meaning going for it on turnover on downs. Scored on 14 of 19 possessions, really 14 of 18 if you throw out the knee to end the game against the Jags. Offense rolling. And then this is going to make my larger point. If Jared Goff doesn't turn the football over, And the defense is going to be, they drafted Brian Branch. They're going to be better defensively. And they improved over the course of the season last year. They went to New York the next week, week 15, and won 20-17 on the road against the Jets, who, I mean, the Jets very easily could have been in the playoffs last year if they just got to play defense all the time. Defensively, they were tough as hell. They held the Lions, I believe, to 5.2 or 5.3 yards per play and just 17 first downs on 9 possessions. And in the previous 2 games, the ones that I've talked about and showed a little bit of film of, against the Jags and the Vikings, the Lions had 54 first downs in those 2 games. So averaging 27 first down. Jets held them to 17. Jets are formidable defense. Quarterback play was obviously an issue. Offense, missed Breece Hall when he went out. Lions are still able to get a win here. That's my point. That's the overall point I'm trying to make. Jared Goff doesn't turn the football over. Their floor is winning games like this, 20-17, against teams like the Jets who get poor quarterback play, inconsistent quarterback play. Let's put it like that way. They actually went 4-1. They being the Lions went 4-1 on the road in this last 9 games of the season. Pretty impressive if you ask me. The point of this video is Jared Goff and what Ben Johnson and the offensive staff did with him in the second half in 2022. I didn't think he played well in that Week 9 win over the Packers that I talked about. I think it was like 135 yards passing and like 14 for 28 or 14 for 27, I think. Thereafter, Goff was just on a roll. And I want to talk about I'm not a stats person, but I think you kind of have to because it's an illustration here of how well he played. Now, look, I think he threw 14 touchdowns in the first 7 games. But he also had 7 interceptions and I think 2 fumbles lost. I may be wrong on the 2 fumbles lost. I think he had 3 last year. But in any case, 14 touchdowns but 7 interceptions in the first 7 games when the Lions start off 1-6. After the Week 9 win over the Packers, here's his stats for the final 9 games. Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, do they rely on play action from under center at times? Sure. Does that mean if you slow down the running game, you may be able to limit or in some cases actually stop completely their offense? Sure, no problem. You're going to have a hell of a time stopping Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, the running game, the play action pass game that's built off of it. Last 9 games, 2020, I think, proves that point. 67% completion percentage. Like 210 out of 312. About 2,400 yards passing in 9 games. 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 1 fumble lost. The lack of turnovers in the final 9 games, just 1 on the fumble lost. The precision that's there, the timing, the complete confidence in all of his guys. Everyone. Not just Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, both of those last two guys who are gone. The tight ends, everyone that gets the ball in Detroit, Jared Goff has confidence in. If Jared Goff, Ben Johnson, and the offense play like they did in the second half of the 2022 season, there is no reason why they can't approach, maybe not 29 points per game. Maybe that's a lot over the course of a 17-game season. 25 plus seems totally reasonable to me. Jameson Williams ever gets on track, I think you could be looking at the upper limit of 30 points per game, somewhere around approaching that. This is an offense that's ready to go. Ben Johnson will probably not be in Detroit after 2023. He seems like a really bright, talented guy. The run schemes are really cool. I've enjoyed watching them. I'm trying to get out a couple of videos on the Lions' run schemes and what Ben Johnson does. He likes to attack to the boundary. He likes gap schemes to the boundary, in my opinion. So getting linebackers at the second level to hedge to the field with a counter step by the back, just enough to where the gap schemes can pick them up and close them off into the boundary. I can't prove it. I don't have every single Lions game broken down. I think I've got 6 completely broken down in my online database. If any Lions fans are interested in that, feel free to message me on Twitter or comment in the comment section about the possibility of getting access to that. It's a part of my Patreon. It's $5 a month. But I'll try to upkeep as many Lions games as I can from 2022 and 23. I've added 2 more, just have yet to break them down for a total of 8. And this offense looks way smoother and less turnover prone after I think about the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And I won't pretend to know all of the stats in terms of turnovers, to be honest with you, but I felt like after the loss to, I think, Dallas, think it was at Dallas, the offense didn't seem to turn the ball over as much. And I don't pretend to have all the stats committed to memory. So if you're a Lions fan, if you listened this far, first of all, thank you. Second of all, feel free to correct me in the comment section. I think that game was week 6 or 7 against Dallas, somewhere in that area. After that game, things looked smoother to me. Handoffs, counters, even trick plays like flea flickers looked smoother by the Lions, less of a chance for turnovers. They will win games, I think, in the regular season. And I think they have an opportunity to win multiple games in the playoffs. In my opinion, the goal should be to get a home game in the divisional round. I don't think in the divisional round, regardless of, what your wild card situation is. If you're at home in the divisional round, you're at home in the wild card round, right? I don't think you want to go to Philly or to the 49ers in the divisional round, which it looks like both of those teams are going to be around for a while. There's other teams involved, obviously, Dallas, the Giants, don't get me wrong, those teams are tough. Playoff hardened as well. The Vikings were in the playoffs last year. In my opinion, the Lions' goal should be to get a home playoff game in the divisional round, and I think with the improvements on defense, the talent improvement on defense, period, and the infusion of Jahmyr Gibbs to the offense, the return of Ben Johnson, if they're able to run the ball well, consistently, and utilize the under center play action, which I think Jared Goff does a fantastic job of. He has done a great job dating back to his time with the Rams. If the Lions are able to put those two things together with the gall and the guts that Dan Campbell has going for it on fourth down, being aggressive with play calls, letting Ben Johnson utilize, I don't want to say trick plays, but interesting concepts to kind of catch defenses off guard. I think the sky's the limit. I think they can win football games with Jared Goff. I think they can be in the NFC Championship game. I absolutely do. I'm not sure that it will be in Detroit unless almost everything goes their way in the regular season next year. I'm not sure that it'll be in Detroit. I just feel like Philly's going to be a tough team to beat in terms of their overall record at the end of the season. I think there's no reason why Jared Goff can't have this team in discussion for representing the NFC, and I'm sure that I'll get some opinions to the contrary. It's no problem. If you watch the film, however, and you see the confidence and the precision and the timing, he gets rid of the ball on time. And that's the thing that is striking to me at times when comparing him to other quarterbacks across the NFL. Jared Goff seems to recognize the coverage, understand where to go with the football, and get the ball out pretty quick. I don't pretend to have advanced analytics or stats indicating he got rid of the ball in 1.79 seconds versus somebody else's 1.84. I don't have that information. I'm just telling you how it looks watching the film, now possessing 8 games in the online database, 6 of which are 90, 95, almost 100% broken down in terms of down, distance, personnel, formation, play direction, etc. Result, Jared Goff looks smooth enough to me and in command of this offense to take them as far as Lions fans want them to go. You guys let me know what you think of the video, what you think of my thoughts. I didn't really break down the film necessarily, just showed film from week 13, 14, and 15. I thought that was the stretch, or that was part of the stretch where Goff was playing turnover-free football. I know he didn't turn the ball over against the Giants, and nor did he turn the ball over on Thanksgiving Day against the Bills. I thought he played a very clean game against the Bills. I think he threw for like 250 or 248, something like that. But let me know what you think of the video. If you enjoy this commentary, please consider grabbing the link to it, sharing the link out on social media to help the video get more reach. If you're a Lions fan and you want to see me create more content about your team in the Detroit Lions, please let me know in the comment section and give me some ideas for where to go next. Appreciate you guys' time.